become oppressive. It's time to lend your voice to politics.
On 32 FM 94.9.
Just because you do not take an interest in politics doesn't mean politics won't take an interest in you.
The funds spent were properly spent because we got them from intervention funds.
You only you waka come. There is God.
I don't know which party my wife belongs to, but she belongs to my kitchen and my living room and the other room.
Stay in tune with politics on 32 FM 94.9.
Good morning, welcome to the Podium on 32 FM 94.9. My name is OLORUNTOBA YUSUF. Great to have you join us on the conversation this morning. Now, today we'll be looking at the security architecture of the country. We'll have a security expert with us as a former Director of the State Security Service, Barrister Mike Ejiofor. Good to have you. Good morning, sir. Barrister Ejiofor. Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Yes. Good morning, sir. Good to have you, sir.
Morning.
Great to have you. Yes, as you know, the Podium is a panel discussion. So we have Professor Remi Ayede, Department of Political Science, University of Ibadan with us. Prof, good morning. Hello, Prof.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning,
it's a
sir.
pleasure to be here with you this morning.
Yeah.
And welcome to our guest, Barrister Ejiofor, and also, of course, Barrister Yomi Ogunlola, my colleague.
Yes.
On the
Morning, Barrister. Good to have you, sir.
Yes,
Thank you
Nova.
very much.
Good
My
morning.
pleasure.
Good morning, my noble prof, and my learned colleague. It's good to have you on the show again. A wet
My
morning
pleasure.
to Nigerians.
Yes. Oh, okay. So, I mean,
Right here in Abuja.
yeah, you're
I'm sorry.
yes. Thank you so much. All right, so let's begin with, as I said, an assessment of, the security situation in the country. The president has been 2 years since he assumed office as the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Nigeria. Of course, he's made his own appointment, his own service chiefs as well. What's your assessment of, the last 2 years in terms of how the security situation of the country has evolved, especially the performance of the service chiefs that the president appointed upon resumption of office?
Well, I think it's a mixed bag. Initially, we started having some successes. All of a sudden, the thing relapsed, and we're now having a series of resurgence of attacks, not only to the civilian population, but even military formations. I think we should not be talking of appointments of a service chief, whether they are doing well or they are not doing well, because the reason is simple. If you look at the Nigerian armed forces and even the police, when they go outside this country, they perform excellently well and they're given awards and medals. But when they come into this place, because of the environment in which they operate, they might not likely achieve any success. They are operating on a very difficult situation. But if you know that the primary purpose of government is welfare and security of the people, the government owes an obligation to provide that security to the people. So it's been a mixed bag, some successes, some setback, because I think I can tell you that the situation as it is now is very, very challenging and disturbing. Any meaningful, any patriotic Nigerian, any Nigerian at that must be worried at what we are going through.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned that there was relative success at the beginning, but it looks like there's been a relapse. We've seen the resurgence of these attacks and all. So why do you think that it was difficult to consolidate on that success? And why do you think that we had sort of a relapse of this incident, making it even worse than what it was before?
Well, I think one of them is the economy. When the president came and removed the subsidy, although it was necessary that the subsidy would be removed, we expected money to come in. But what is happening now is that the money is coming and being generated are being distributed to the states. And our governors, our emperors, they don't care. They misappropriate funds. And if you also notice that this year, the budget is about 5 or 6 trillion to the defense. And to ask, this money budgeted or appropriated, are they being released? We are still operating 2023, 24, 25 budgets. And we expect people to perform magic. Our budgets are not performing up to 40%. So these are issues. If the budgets are implemented and monies are released, then we can talk about that. And if you look at Borno State, for instance, when you have a resurgence of attacks and Sokoto, Zamfara, and Katsina, you see the effect of pulling out of the 3 states from ECOWAS, Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, because of unconstitutional change of government. We now expose our borders to which have been very porous. It became more problematic. And the multinational joint task force is not as effective as it used to be. Don't also forget that Nigeria bears the burden of the multinational joint task force by financing, and the money is not there. So these are challenges, these are factors that give rise to some of these resurgence of, again, the people are not involved. People again will continue to say people are not involved. Like the DGSSS, we talk of first line of defense, that people should come in and defend themselves. Yes, it's a good idea, but I don't see how, without the formal establishment of that first line of defense, by arming them, either through vigilante or local police or whatever, you see people coming with substituted weapons like AK-47, you need to confront that suicidal. So until it is formally established that our first line of defense must be armed, then we're bound to face more challenges. More especially when you have the 2027 election. People are not talking of governance anymore. They are talking of 2027. That's the disturbing aspect of it.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the 3 states that pulled out of ECOWAS. They call themselves Alliance of the Sahel States now. And there are those looking back, would you say that maybe Nigeria as the, big brother of ECOWAS, quote unquote, should have or could have handled the situation better in terms of being diplomatic to prevent the pullout of these 3 countries? Because from your analysis, it looks like it has put a huge burden on us in terms of fighting insurgency within that region. There was a collaborative effort at some point, maybe because of the breakdown of diplomatic relations between Nigeria and these countries. There's been a huge burden placed on our military, and does it look like they are overwhelmed? So my question is, do you think the president or the leadership of Nigeria could have been a bit more diplomatic or tactful in preventing these countries from pulling out of that regional group?
Well, I don't think so. Ordinarily, this is an unconstitutional government. No matter how benevolent they are, it's better like people say, that a bad democracy is worse than a benevolent military government. You see, ECOWAS ordinarily would have expelled them. But on their own, they pulled out saying they are no more part of ECOWAS. So I don't think Nigeria should have done anything better than what they did. And, there were some diplomatic moves initially to persuade them to set timetable for return to civil government and see what they can do to restore democracy in those areas. But the people are not listening. And on their own, they pulled out of ECOWAS. So there's nothing Nigeria could have done about that.
Right. Okay, let's go to Prof now. Prof?
I think that you have started the discussion on a very robust engagement with the issue. But I'm just wondering, this whole idea of distinguishing between
Prof, sir, it sounds like you're a bit far away from your device.
No, I'm not far away from it at all. Is it better?
Yes, okay, go ahead, sir.
Oh, okay. So, I was talking about the distinction that we made between governance and politics. A lot of people have made this point, and I guess last week also point to Nigerians' desire for more governance and less politics. Didn't Nigerians know that this president is more about politics than governance? And what is the place of security, national security, in the agenda of this government?
Yeah, okay. Barrister Michael Jaffa, I don't know if you got that.
Yes.
Okay.
The question again.
Yes, he is saying that, looking at the trajectory of the president now, like, didn't Nigerians know that the person that got elected into office is more of a politician, spends more time politicking, conspiring and, trying to enmesh his people in power than actually governance. And that didn't I just see the clear difference at the time it was being made? And then he says, is there any clear agenda regarding security in this administration?
Well, a politician must occupy an office, so we always elect politicians and nothing else. But the level of politics is what should be concerned with. For instance, more than 70% of our security challenges are caused by politicians. Look at the way they are hitting up the polity. So it's not as if whether Nigerians knew that he was a politician. Of course, Nigerians knew he was a politician before he was elected. But my concern is that they should be more concerned about governance than politics. Because from all their conduct now, you can see everybody defecting to APC. Are they defecting to APC because the government is doing very well, or because they are doing that because of their personal interest? So if we put all this on the table and let them know that if there is no country, there's no place for them to govern, they should think of Nigeria first than thinking of themselves. So most of our politicians are not thinking of Nigeria, they are thinking of themselves and their own existence and survival.
All right, we'll take a quick commercial break. When we get back, we'll go to Barrister so he can also make his contribution and ask his question as well. It's still the podium on 32 FM 94.9. Our guest this morning is Barrister Michael Jaffa, former Director of the State Security Service. As I said, we're analysing the current security situation in the country. Remember, we're live on Facebook, 32 FM 949. Yeah, go there, like the video, share it, drop your comment. We'll be back in a moment. Do stay with us.
Safa saphela isizwe simnyama iwasafa isizwe saba yavula mono ayimikokhelize wemaye wemolo.
You're listening to 32 FM 94.9.
Welcome to Bet Great. Bet on sports. Confirm bonus up to 350% and stand a chance to win with Bet Great. You can cash out and auto cash out whenever you want. So you're always in charge. Now casino game you want? You can pilot yourself with Bet Great on Aviator and much more. And be in cruise control. Join using promo code GOAL and get your welcome free bet. Experience these and much more in our shops or online on betgreat.com. Be great. Bet Great. Bet responsibly. Only 18 plus.
Every day when my children return from school, I don't recognize them. Hello, do I know you?
It's us, mommy.
But these dirty, sweaty uniforms and socks, we're clean in the morning. Everything don't transform. I understand though. School is hectic. It takes energy to come home this transformed. So I make sure they have some nutritious Milo at breakfast.
Your kids need nourishing energy. Give them Milo at breakfast. It has nutrients that support energy release to help them get the most out of their day. Milo, energy to go further.
Bọ́ba ń fojoojúmọ́ ṣọdún tí jòyè ń fọ̀sọ̀ọ̀sẹ̀ ṣòro. Ayé kì í dùn lójú ẹni tí ò rí nǹkan jẹ. Miliki Express. Lówe nílùú àgbà, jẹ̀lẹ́ńkẹ́ ni wọ́n ń jó èwe ìwòyí tí ó tasẹ̀ sórin àgbà. Ẹni kó lọ rèé sánra rẹ̀ lámúrèdè. Àṣà àti ṣe ọmọlúàbí Miliki Express. Ètò tí márùgbó takébé ọ̀dọ́ àsìsú gìrì ṣarajọ bọ́rọ̀ tí wúlò fún gbogbo mùtúmùwà. Ètò àṣálẹ́ níbi tá ti máa forin àtijọ́ tó lárinrin rìn yín ní dìdín. Pẹ̀lú òwe àtàtúpalẹ̀ wọn ìtàn àròsọ ṣókí pẹ̀lú ọgbọ́n tí ń kọ́ni. Kàsà Wahid Ìṣọ̀lá ọ̀rọ̀ labí ó mọ pàtẹ ètò lọ́jọ́jọ́ ọjọ́bọ̀ Thursday. Bẹ̀rẹ̀ láti aago 10 alẹ́ títí dago 12 gbáko lórí ìkànnì 32 FM 94.9 Ìbàdàn. Miliki Express. Alúbẹ̀bẹ̀ ní wáyé fúnra rẹ̀ lójú aago.
32 FM 94.9.
Ẹ̀yin fans mi. It's okay. Ẹ lọ sórí gbogbo ìkànnì ìbánidọ́rẹ̀ẹ́ ní 32 FM 949 fẹ̀yìn ẹ̀ àsáàpù. It's okay.
Gbogbo ajífọwọ́lábà ajé tètè ìfàdé kẹ́ ẹ wá tọ́lá. Iléeṣẹ́ kókó bọ̀ sórí kẹ́yẹ́ dáwọ́nù mọ́. Kẹ́ ẹ wá fowó sí kíní gba ọ̀pọ̀. Ṣebí jálẹ̀ rí lẹ́tí fi 200 naira jẹ́ 10,000 naira lórí ìkànnì yìí. Àmọ́ ní báyìí tí àṣekágbá ìdíje UEFA Champions League àti Iléyá ti wọlé dé. Ara ọ̀tọ̀ ní kókó box ti wá gbé kiri ọ̀hún gbà. Ẹgbẹ̀rún ọ̀nà ogún náírà 20,000 naira lèèyàn mẹ́wàá ó máa gbà lọ́lé lójoojúmọ́. Àwọn èyí kó tó yóò sì máa wáyé lórí àwọn ètò yìí níkànnì wa. Iṣẹ́ yá láago 9 àbọ̀ pẹ̀lú Adébáyọ̀ tí Abíyù. Kọ́lá àwọn ìlàgò méjì pẹ̀lú Adùn Kẹ́kẹ́. Aago 2 àbọ̀ lórí kílà ti ṣe pẹ̀lú ọbabìnrin níkànnì yìí. Paríparí gbogbo rẹ̀ ní tago 5 lórí Ẹ̀gẹ́ pẹ̀lú Abímbọ́lá Lamid. Iye tó tàsìkò yìí ní pé 500 naira ló fi máa ta tẹ́ọ̀sì máa gbowó. Tó bá fẹ́ ta kó gbowó tẹ *347 *253# lórí ẹ̀rọ ìbánisọ̀rọ̀ rẹ tàbí kí o lọ wo cocobox.com lójú òpó ayélujára rẹ. Ó jẹ́ mágọ̀ èyí kò ní kóni láyà sókè. Òtítọ́ ni pé ìpọ́njú ń bẹ nínú ayé tí ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ onígbàgbọ́ sì ń káàárẹ̀ ṣùgbọ́n Jésù ti wí fún àwọn ọmọ ẹ̀yìn kí ẹ̀yin kó lè ní àlàáfíà nínú mi. Inú ayé ẹ̀yin yóò ní ìpọ́njú ṣùgbọ́n ẹ tújúká mo ti ṣẹ́gun ayé. Nǹkan wọ̀nyí ni Jésù ti sọ fún wa tẹ́lẹ̀. Èyí gan ló mú ìjọ More Than Conquerors Revolutionary Church tó wà ní Sanyo Ìbàdàn wá sórí afẹ́fẹ́ lábẹ́ iṣẹ́ ìránṣẹ́ Pastor Adénẹ́yẹ Martins. Nínú gbogbo nǹkan wọ̀nyí àwa ju ẹni tí ó ṣẹ́gun lọ nípasẹ̀ Kristiani tí ó fẹ́ wa. Ìwé Róòmù orí 9 ẹsẹ̀ 17. Agogo 9 kù ìṣẹ́jú 15 àṣálẹ́ ọjọ́ Sátidé ní kẹ́ jẹ́ ká fi ìpàdé sí lórí ìkànnì tá a wà yìí 32 FM 94.9. Ọ̀rọ̀ Ọlọ́run yóò sì yé wa yéké tí gbogbo onígbàgbọ́ yóò sì fọkàn balẹ̀.
32 FM
94.9.
Welcome back at the Podium on 32 FM 94.9. In case you just joined us, we are doing an analysis of the security challenges in the country. Our guest is Barrister 𝐂𝐈𝐒, former Director, State Security Service, SSS. So let's go to Barrister now. Barrister, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you very much. Now, my brother, I see you justify ECOWAS's response to the coups in Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso. Now, I want to know your position on the recent declaration of President for Life by the Togolese president, a clear departure from democratic norms, and which many have dubbed another coup, but for which ECOWAS has failed, neglected, and refused to respond accordingly. Don't you think the inability of ECOWAS to protect democracy according to its foundational rules is responsible for the resurgence of coups, and ECOWAS is being hypocritical in addressing the catalyst for coups in the sub-region?
Well, I think you summed it up. What promotes coups is bad governance. and lack of accountability of the people. And if you remember that OAU Charter also provides for non-interference in the internal affairs of another country. And ECOWAS had the same charter. There's an extent, even though it prohibits, undemocratic change of government, there's a limit to which it can go. But if you look at it again, you see that ECOWAS also has double standards. In some cases, they come out openly to condemn whether they are effective or not. Then in some cases, they keep quiet, like the examples you have given. So these are issues of developing countries. In developed countries, you can't see this unconstitutional change of government. And you know that in West Africa, for instance, if you remember in the 60s, once coup starts happening in one country, it goes on and on to other countries. It becomes a trend. But we pray that this undemocratic government should not be a norm in our society, because we need democracy to grow. Thank God we are now in our 25th or 26th year of uninterrupted democracy. No matter how bad we have fared, I think we should, by constant practice. America had the same problem before they stabilize. So we pray that a time will come where we'll have a government that cares for the people and that will promote stability. Otherwise, once it's promoting this instability in the West African sub-region, is bad governance and people who don't care. Leadership that doesn't care about the people.
Yeah, I mean, some would say beyond just bad governance, that there seemed to be this, some have called it pro-Kremlin rhetoric being spread across West Africa now. As a matter of fact, I think some weeks ago we discussed it here with Prof. and Barrister. There are all kinds of information that are being circulated across social media, which some say is painting Traore, for instance, of Burkina Faso as a kind of savior for his country. So some would say that, the younger people who did not experience military coup are being lured by this kind of information. I want to get your take on that. Is it just about bad governance, or there seems to be this attraction, of the younger generation who are saying that, yes, there's bad governance, democracy is not working, let's just go the way of Burkina Faso. I've heard this kind of rhetoric like different times talking to younger people. So what do you think is fueling this kind of narrative?
Well, another factor, like you said again, is ideological. It's ideological. The West are trying to have a stronghold. These countries that left are condemning France for their colonial position and how they don't care, how they exploit South Africa. And Russia, on the other side, is also trying to establish its presence by encouraging these countries, or if not directly or indirectly sponsoring such overthrow of government and trying to have sympathy for them by providing. You can see the relationship between Burkina Faso and Russia. They are trying to offer support, even though the Burkinabe president is also trying to use his own resources. That's why it's becoming popular. He's providing good governance, even though the government is unconstitutional. So it's both ideological, bad governance, ideological, and poverty within the sub-region.
Yeah, I mean, I like the fact that you mentioned Russia, because at the time when these coups happened back to back, there was also this anti-French rhetoric as well. The feeling like these countries were breaking off the shackles of neo-colonialism. But we saw Russia also going in as well with all kinds of deals that they have with this country to support them militarily. I'm just reading now that the group, the mercenary group, Wagner Group, that's what they call them. They've been operating in Mali since the French troops left Now they want to withdraw from Mali, and they say that they've completed the mission. But Mali is also experiencing a relapse of this insurgency and terrorism attacks. The question now is, after moving away from France and tilting towards Russia, the question is, has it paid off for these countries? If you look at it, because there are those who say Nigeria should also break off its Western reliance and look the way of Russia or China and what have you. But if you look at these countries again, would you ask yourself, has this alliance with Russia paid off as well, or is it better than the alliance with the West?
You see, another basic factor is this jihadists, Islamic fundamentalism, and all these ISWAP, also trying to establish stronghold. So whether it's Russia or China that is in control of the place of France, for instance, this Islamic extractionists, they are the people causing this problem. Even though, for me, I'm not a Muslim, the Muslims are not spared from these attacks. So if you say you want to expand your religion, why also attack adherents? So it's just a senseless mission that these people. So one is on religious ground, you have ideological ground, you have poverty, the economy, all combined, giving rise to this instability in the sub-region.
Yeah, I mean, you also mentioned our borders earlier. I remember one of the service chiefs talking about fencing our borders as a proposal to curb the infiltration of armed groups and small arms and light weapons as well. How feasible is this strategy? Because the last time I heard about building a wall over a border, I think it was Donald Trump during his first term when he said he wanted to curb illegal immigrants coming to the United States. So is it feasible for us to build a wall over our borders as a way of curbing influx of these armed groups into the country?
Well, it's feasible and ideal, but where is the resources? Where do you have the resources to embark on such gigantic projects? Because if you are talking of fencing, yes, I heard when the chief of defense staff talked about fencing the borders.
Yeah,
it's ideal because our borders are porous, so that if they are fenced, then you have entry points that will be manned. For instance, if you look at the borders, I take Katsina, for instance, and Niger, you hardly can know who is a Nigerian or who is a Nigerian. They intermarry, cultural. You saw when they were saying that even the former president, Buhari, is developing Niger because he's from Niger. These are speculations. I don't have the facts. But, I'm just trying to establish the cultural affinity between the two groups of people. But if they are friends, then you also know that even during election, some of the Nigerians come to Nigeria to vote. So if we construct the fence, but my fear is that we don't have money because fencing the borders is not just like you are carrying blocks. There should be concrete walls that can also not be high enough that it cannot be climbed.
Yeah.
So this is a good idea if we have the money.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about. Yes, I'm just thinking about the resources it's going to go up, because where do you want to start from? Because the porous borders are not just in the north, right? Where in your state, for instance, there are towns that also experience, influx of armed groups and all of that. Even here, there's also the issue of smuggling in the southwest as well. So, I mean, are you going to build a wall around the country from the north to the south? Those are some of the issues that will come up from this idea. But let's go to Prof now. Prof?
Yeah, I raised the question of what is the security policy of this government. And Yusuf, you just hit the nail on the head, because recently, I think one of the service chiefs suggested that we should build a wall across Nigeria's border in order to be able to address these security challenges. I remember when Buhari was coming on board, the argument was that he was a military man, so he would be able to address the security challenges, and security was very high on the agenda of that government. this government is now 2 years into its first 4-year term, and we are having this relapse. And then the security chiefs are saying all these issues. But if you also look at within the military itself, the lower rank, in fact, some of them have gone on social media to say that the service chiefs and those high-ranking officers are just making money, and that it is the junior rank who are in the front line that are actually suffering the mess, and they've called out all those higher officers. Don't you think that this insecurity has become an enterprise, that people are profiteering from it, and that this government needs to pay attention to that and redefine its security policy?
Well, there's no better way to have put it the way you have put it rightly. It has actually become an enterprise. And I give you the chain. There's a chain to it. Appropriation is made at the National Assembly. The National Assembly is corruption. Corruption all the way. Appropriation is made at the National Assembly. The National Assembly is looking for ways of getting their own cut, even in security. If you don't give us this, we will not approve this for you. You approve, and the money is short-changed. It goes down to the leadership of the various security agencies. Don't also forget, these are Nigerians. They want to go and buy equipment. They'll buy some substandard equipment. They also want to settle some interest. And down the line, it goes. At the end of the day, you hardly can find anything. That's why I say that even at that, budget implementation is less than 40%. So, if you don't release this money, and you are saying that security is paramount, or security policy of this country should go this way to provide, where do you get the money from? And you can't blame all the leadership. But apart from oversight function of the National Assembly, we also need to see people tell you they don't audit security. That is not true. It's not above. There's what is called security fund that you cannot account for. But it's not that you cannot account for all the money given to you. You must account for the money. There must be accountability because there's so much corruption. I remember one general in Zamfara was seen with 640-something million naira cash. How do you explain it? It's okay. Look at it's not only in the security subsector. Without prejudice to the ongoing case, although the matter has been for future order has been given. How do you explain that one man will have 753 duplexes? It's pure madness. And the things I see that I begin to say, are these really human beings? What are they doing with this money? As if you will not die. You will die eventually one day and leave all this. Their children will not even. So the moment we begin to think of Nigeria, think of this country, and to take what you need, not what you don't need. Just concentrate on what the basic needs. I think some Nigerians are mad.
Yeah, just a quick one before I go to Barrister Ogunola. You mentioned the issue of corruption. Some have said that maybe because military spending are not really are always kept kind of secret. I don't know because of national security and all of that. Do you think that is what is aiding some of these things? Because it's not the first time we've heard about funds meant for the procurement of arms for the military being diverted. In fact, there was a huge one when Buhari came into office. They called it Dasuki Gate. It connected different people, politicians, even those in the media as well. So is it because military spending are often shrouded in kind of secrecy for national security's sake?
Well, please, that is not true. Military spending are not shrouded in secrecy. Among the budget, in the budget, they have what is called security fund that you can expect. Even the governors have billions of security fund. Those are the funds that you cannot begin to audit because there are some measures or some items you can spend money on without coming to the public to say this. That is why those monies are budgeted for, but you don't give account for. For the general budget, you must give account.
Okay, let's go to Barrister now. Barrister?
Yes. Thank you. My brother, a couple of days ago, an army general accused villagers of strongholds of insurgents, bandits, and kidnappers of aiding and abetting the peculiar trilogy of insurgency, banditry, and kidnapping. The general claims villagers give intel and other logistics supports to the marauders. The question I am asking is, can the Nigerian government be heard to complain when they teach our people how to be unpatriotic, how to be disloyal, and bereft of the expected nationalist zeal, when they buy votes of Nigerians to enthrone mediocrity and undermine the system? In other words, is the leadership justified in condemning villagers who collect money many times higher than the amount government offers for buying their votes to undermine the same system, especially when it is the same government that weaponized poverty, leaving the people without options for their existential needs?
You see, the problem is there's lack of patriotism. And what is patriotism? Love for one's country. Can you love your country when you are hungry? The answer is, of course, no. If the country provides the basic needs, then the government can now start talking of, patriotism, loving your country, doing their civic responsibilities and all that. And in fact, some of these areas we are talking of that the citizens owe allegiance to the bandits. These are ungoverned spaces where you don't have presence of government at all. So the people they look at there are the bandits who steal money and come there, give them money, provide what the government ought to have provided for them. So you don't blame them. But in the presence of government is there, like some local governments, don't even get to their local government headquarters. They go to the state capital, share their money, and off they go until the next allocation. So you blame them. You can't blame them. It's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I know you said you were going to be with us for just 30 minutes. I'll just ask this last question before we let you go, Barrister Michael Ejiofor. And it's about intelligence again, because I know that, that's one of the things people have talked about in this country. In fact, when you go on social media, you see all kinds of videos purportedly showing some individuals claiming to be, bandits or whatever, brandishing weapons, showing proceeds from, again, purportedly a ransom payment and all, so there are those who ask the question that, what happened to our intelligence gathering system, when these things can easily be tracked, these people can easily be tracked and apprehended and made to face the full wrath of the law if truly they are who they claim they are, showing their weapon, displaying their bounty or proceeds from ransom payments. What do you make of that?
Well, very interesting question. Incidentally, the new leadership of the State Security Service is up and doing in terms of intelligence gathering. But again, it comes to if you provide the necessary intelligence and the actual agency doesn't have the capacity or capability to handle it, what do? You heard of the recent case because the SSS now is taking the initiative to carry out some of the operations in conjunction with the military, even though that is not the actual responsibility. You had the case in Niger,
yes,
where they led the operation, and 45 of these bandits were neutralized who were planning for an operation. They were planning to go and do an attack on the community, but they got this intelligence. So with time, I think all such operations from the SSS and the military will continue to embark and emphasize on it. Maybe sometime we will succeed. For professional intelligence, I can assure you that there's enough intelligence, but the capacity to deal with this, because apart from, the military, that operates based on standard operational procedures. These bandits have no standard operational procedures. They can come and burn the community, open fire. But when the military does that, you begin to hear from civil society, you begin to hear of human rights abuses and all this. So it's a delicate balance.
Right. Thank you so much, Barrister 𝐒𝐈𝐄, for joining us today. It's been a very interesting conversation with you as a former director of State Security Service, SSS. So, Barrister and Prof, final word before we let Barrister go, because he said he's going to spend such a short time with us. It's a holiday. So, Barrister, Prof?
Yeah, let me just thank Barrister 𝐒𝐿 for coming to join us this morning. I really want to maybe just repeat the question that I asked before concerning the request or the suggestion that we should build borders, walls across Nigerian border. Does it think it's likely to be of help? And can Nigeria afford it?
Yeah, I answered it before. I said it's ideal, but we might not have the resources to embark on it. But we can start from somewhere.
Right. Thank you so much.
Yes, for me, I say a wonderful wet Saturday to our brother. Do have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much, Barrister 𝐒𝐈𝐄, for joining us. Thank you. Okay, so we'll continue the conversation now. Joining us this morning is Professor Isaac Olawale Albert. He's a professor of African History, Peace and Conflict Studies, and the pioneer director of the Institute for Peace and Strategic Studies at the University of Ibadan. He's joining us virtually this morning. Prof, good morning, sir. Great to have you. Please unmute your device, Prof. Hello, Prof. Yes, great to have you. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yes. Okay. So, Prof, as you know, it's a panel discussion. We have Barrister Yomi Ogunola here, one of the panelists. Barrister, Prof is here with us. And we also have Professor Remi Ayede, Department of Political Science, University of Ibadan. Right. So, Prof, let's continue the conversation where we left off with our guest earlier, and that's the proposal, or should I say suggestion, by the Chief of Defense Staff a few days ago about building a wall around our borders, fencing our borders to curb the infiltration of armed groups into the country, because we've talked about porous borders as one of the reasons why we've had lingering security challenges for some time now. So how feasible do you think this idea is? Do we have the capacity to build it, and is it going to actually curb this menace of illegal of influx of armed groups into the country? Hello, Prof. Please unmute your device, sir. Please unmute your device.
Yes, I have.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Yes, Professor Albert. Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Oh, okay. Well, let me start by saying that I sympathize with the Chief of Defense Staff. Is under very serious pressure. Otherwise, one would not expect anybody to be calling for that type of measure at this time. When we were at the National Conference 2014, we invited the then controller of immigration, and we interacted with him. He said, he complained about, the porosity of Nigerian borders. And we discovered then that Nigerian northern borders alone, from Maduguri to to Sokoto and the rest of them will take about 2,000 kilometers. Now, the question is, where are we going to get the resources for actually building that type of wall? And then what will be the size of the wall that, these troublemakers will not be able to really scale over? Now, we are only talking about the northern borders now. But what I don't think Nigerian security strategists, those in charge of our security, are, reflecting critically on, is that the borders we need to bother about now go beyond that of the Northeast. We are under pressure. Boko Haram, franchises of IC Al-Qaeda, they are trying to take Benin Republic, and they are doing it so hard. And Benin is a very weak point. And the intention is that once they come in through Benin, then the entire stretch of Nigeria from the northwest down to the southwest becomes vulnerable. So when we finish building the borders in the north, then we start building the ones to the left, to the southwest. So to me, we are just jokers. Americans tried it, it didn't work. And now we want to try it. We keep saying that we do not have enough resources for acquiring the needed armament for fighting these terrorists. And now we're adding to our burden by saying the next thing to do now is to build walls. I think these people, when they talk to me, it tells me that there is no strategy. It tells me that there is no strategy. Because you see, if you have a strategy in military warfare, you have your plan A, you have your plan B. Your plan A is built around, your vulnerability assessment. Then your plan B is to say that if your plan A is not producing results, then you go for your plan B. But when you hear some of the things that our state officials say, most especially when the president invites the service chiefs, because it's in the habit of always calling them to a meeting each time there is a problem. When they come out, they say things that look very, very funny. The last one they said when they came out was that now we adopt technology. Are we just realizing that you need technology actually fighting asymmetric warfare? Something that people knew as far back as the early 90s. We say now we want to use technology, and then you ask them which technology. So there is no strategy.
Right.
I can say from the classroom that there is no strategy.
Right. Prof, you said earlier that the Chief of Defense Staff is under serious pressure. And, I've seen one of his interviews earlier this year. Maybe I should play an excerpt from that interview, because the way he spoke there, it appeared that the problem was bigger than what we're seeing. He tried to talk about what some would say a conspiracy theory, that there are, external forces who are interested in a destabilized Nigeria. So, Prof, please stay on the line. Let me play an excerpt of that interview so we can have more context to the conversation.
We're ready to go. We're not scared of anybody. And I can tell you, they have their own intent on why they are doing that. I think they just want to demoralize my troops. They want us to look bad, because I just can't understand why anybody will wake up and say that we're killing people when we're actually not doing the same. And guess what? Where the Giwa barracks you were talking about, we have all the humanitarian agencies working there. You have the UN working, local and international organizations are working. Are we saying they are complicit? There is nothing we're doing in the back. So if they don't say it, which means Amnesty International is equal, and Amnesty is equally there. So which means they're equally accusing all these other organizations of being complicit. We've talked to international community. Let's find out the funding. When they started surrendering, by the time we left, so as we speak, we have over 120,000 that have surrendered. Most of them, when you find them, they are coming with hard currencies. How did they get them? How are they funded? How did they get the training? How did they get the equipment?
What is your suspicion?
Well, maybe an international conspiracy, you don't know. Who knows? How are they be able to sustain themselves for 15 years? That is one question I think everybody should ask himself. For Nigeria to be able to hold them, and you go to Nigeria, everything seems to be working well.
You must have an idea. I mean, let's not talk about international conspiracy theories. Let's give some hard facts.
Well, I just leave it at that. I'm sure they know, and I'm sure everybody knows that these are the challenges we're facing, that needs to be addressed. So the UN need to come in to ensure that, because we need to trace the funding. How are they sustaining themselves for 15 years?
What does the UN coming in mean? What does that look like?
Track the funding. It's international flow. We don't have control over that.
Whose interest is it to see Nigeria destabilize?
Well, I don't know. You don't know. Your guess is as good as mine.
So, Prof, I mean, I don't know if you got that part of the interview he had with Al Jazeera talking about international conspiracy, how Amnesty International sort of, hounds them, talking about the human rights angle to the fight against insurgency. So, does it look like, the Nigerian military is probably overwhelmed because of some of these external and internal factors that they face while fighting this problem, looking at the statement that the CDS made in that interview?
That tape that you played actually was generated several months ago. It's not a recent one.
Yes, it was in February. Yes,
he granted that interview and a few others before he was denied visa, to Canada. He was going to Canada, and some of the things he said, this idea of I don't care, is one of the reasons why he was denied visa to Canada. Now, if we are saying conspiracy theory is part of the equation, the question now you want to ask yourself is that how does building of walls deal with conspiracy theory? You see, we are dealing with a multidimensional problem, but each time our leaders speak about it, they present it as a monocausal, incident. It's like you are looking only in one direction. You are not actually looking at it multidimensionally. In security warfare, you look at your problems multidimensionally, and then you allocate your resources according to the assessment of the different threats. So he's talking about conspiracy theory, and to tell you also that there is no strategy. He said the United Nations should help us to find out who is funding. So if we have been fighting Boko Haram since 2009, and what we are saying now is we have not been able to develop our own independent matrix for assessing, for determining who is funding Boko Haram. Now, let us assume that there is no DSS, there is no NIA, there is no DMI, and so on. All these intelligence gathering agencies. Let us say we don't have them. Dubai actually helped us to investigate some of these problems, jail some of these people, return some of them to us, and documents. What have we done so far with those that were the intelligence that were provided to us from outside? The Americans, Europeans are no longer doing boots on the ground. They are no longer coming to fight on the ground with us, but they provide us actionable intelligence. What have we done with the intelligence? And then the point we have to make here again is that the UN doesn't gather intelligence for member states. What the UN does is that, they have different types of United Nations resolutions, which they forward to member states for developing how to fight terrorism. As a result of some of these resolutions, we developed here in Nigeria what is called cybercrime laws. But we are not using these cybercrime laws to catch Boko Haram. We are using it to detain journalists. We are using the laws actually to punish people who say things against the government. So to me, my conclusion scientifically is that there is no strategy. These people are just responding to the spur of the moment. As the pressure comes, they say whatever they want to say. And actually, this betrays the fact that there is no strategy for fighting the battle. Even for managing our homes, we have strategies. You are poorly paid, but you are still living. Why are you still living? It's because there is a strategy. There are steps you have to take on Monday, there are steps you take on Tuesday, and all of them will add up to your existence. But today, you find people being killed in Benue State, Plateau State. This one is Lakurawa today. The other one is Boko Haram tomorrow. You find the governor of Borno State shouting begging the Nigerian state that, please, we should not allow Borno State to fall. It is not helping our image outside.
And Prof, you've said that there is no strategy. When things like this happen, I remember the Buhari administration, people were talking about, change the service chiefs. Maybe that will bring about a fresh idea, a fresh tactic, to fight the insurgency. So is it this strategy you're talking about, is it a question of those who are appointed at the helm or the senior military officials, or maybe it's a national security advisor that is not developing the right strategy to combat this problem? Because that's the reason they are there. They're given that responsibility to, fight insecurity, insurgency, and what have you. Or should we be talking about changing the service shift just like we did during the time of former president? Yes.
You see, changing service chiefs to me is not the solution. Changing service chiefs is not the solution. The number one problem of Nigeria is the politicization of security management. We have politicized security management to the extent that criminals are deodorized. They smell good. And this same General Musa, I was outside Nigeria and I listened to him, said a few days ago that when Boko Haram crisis started, he said we in the north were the ones actually protecting them, speaking for them, defending them. He said, Lakurawa that is disturbing us now, that we knew that these people existed, but that at the infancy, at the early stage of their troublemaking, that people were defending them. Now they have grown up, they have become a problem. So I think what we should actually be talking about is the political will to deal with these problems. The political will, the word political will is not there. If you have a wayward child and you fail to discipline that wayward child, the wayward child will grow up to the extent that it will not only be disturbing the entire society, but might also come back to kill you. And I think this is what we are witnessing in Nigeria. The people we protected in the past, that we defended in the past, that we deodorized in the past, are the ones now making life very difficult for everybody. And they are doing it all over the northern states. And as of now, these terrorists, most especially from the Sahel, putting pressure on northern Nigeria, are moving towards the coast. Their agenda is to get to the coast where they will generate a lot of resources, not only for funding themselves, but for funding the likes of ISIS, Al-Qaeda, that are no longer able to generate resources because they have been defeated in the Middle East. So these big terrorist organizations are looking towards the coastal states of West Africa to generate resources. They are putting pressure on Benin Republic, they are putting pressure on Togo, they are putting pressure on Ghana. But each of these other countries have developed their own strategies of pushing them back. But in Nigeria, we keep welcoming them. We keep welcoming them using all kinds of euphemistic, excuses for actually getting them into our country. They are our brothers. They are our sisters. So that is why our hands are full now in Nigeria.
Yeah, I mean, Prof, I know that you have, done you have done a lot of work in terms of, security, working with senior military officials, even within and outside the country as well. Is there any substance in some of these conspiracy theories about some country working against Nigeria or wanting to see a destabilized Nigeria? Is there any substance there, or is just a mere conspiracy theory, sort of?
No, there is substance in it. Nigeria started having problems since the ECOMOG operation in Liberia and Sierra Leone. When that operation started, or when the crisis in that part of West Africa started, the global powers actually felt that they should be the ones that people will run to. But Nigeria took up the leadership. Nigeria and Ghana took up the leadership, sent troops to that place. Many of our war equipment actually got destroyed in Liberia and Sierra Leone. So if we are not having some of this equipment today, we destroy them, So we succeeded in actually bringing peace to those two countries. And I think since then, some big global powers have not been happy with Nigeria. They do not want a big hegemon in West Africa. They do not want a big power that will be able to stop, foreign intervention in African problems. And I think since then, all kinds of spanners have been, put on the path of Nigeria's security progress. So that is number one. Some countries, some big powers in the world are not happy with Nigeria. And therefore, when we started facing our own problems, they refused to give us arms. We tried to go to South Africa to acquire arms. We couldn't. We went to Pakistan. We couldn't bring the arms home, and so on. Now, in addition to this, Nigeria has always been having problems with France. France wants to dominate the West African sub-region. And France, therefore, has always been having problems with Nigeria. And so France is, actually played a big role in the Boko Haram crisis. We cannot be discussing that on air here, but we do know that many of the problems we had with this Boko Haram crisis were partly, strengthened by France. And I think that is why now, when we travel abroad, people are asking us, why is our president in friendship with France? Knowing the antecedents of this country. So that is number two. Number three, we have just finished a British academy project. We went around the Sahel, Senegal, Mali, Burkina Faso, and so on. And we realized that there are several big players there trying to use security management to extract mineral resources from West Africa. They get gold, they get lithium, they get so all kinds of things, resources are being extracted. And what some of these foreign forces behind this, what they do now is to use crisis. Our forest, in fact, I got to know just 3 days ago, that part of what is happening to our forest now is they are taking elephant's tusk. There is an animal also that is called warthog. It has smaller tusk than elephants. So people are killing them now, extracting all these things away from our countries. They are extracting them away from Nigeria. They are extracting them from Mali, from different places. So to be able to keep this economic interest in troublemaking alive, then there's a need that they will not want our problems to just end like that. There are people, there are groups in Mali, Burkina Faso that are actually promoting religion. They are not promoting religion so that people will go to God. They are promoting religion to advance interests that may not be on the surface for now. But these people get local supporters who help them to come into the countries, to destroy their countries, and then all of us will suffer for it.
Right. Okay, let's bring in a barrister to the conversation. Barrister, are you with us?
Yes.
Yeah, you have the floor, barrister.
Prof, let me welcome you on board this flight. You can see that our captain is not a driver.
It's a flight indeed.
Now, please permit me. I want to go back to the suggested walling of our borders.
Okay.
I see that your objection is with respect to the supposed paucity of funds. However, we are daily assailed with news of billions running to trillions being stolen by our rulers.
Yes.
For instance, the 2025 budget is alleged to have been padded by as high as 77 fraudulent items running into billions.
Yes.
We also have this allegation of 396 billion budgeted for 1,476 units of street lights.
Yes.
Is the problem with the walls really about funds?
Well, thank you so much, sir, for your analysis. The problem may not be with the fund availability of the fund per se, but basically the fact that there is no strategy. If there is a strategy, if our leaders are altruistic and they prioritize solving these problems, then they wouldn't have allowed the kind of padding that you have just mentioned. The last time the problems in the Northeast escalated and the president invited the service chiefs, one of the things they came out saying was that we do not have enough equipment. We do not have enough soldiers. Now, when you find a military that is fighting terrorism saying we do not have equipment, what they are telling you indirectly is that the financial resources for getting the armament is not there. And I was actually expecting the government to say we allocate so much more to actually getting this equipment, but everybody kept quiet. But at the same time, we heard that the budget had been padded by so amount of money. We heard that some of these people were dashing out 2 billion, 3 billion. So to me, the totality of it is to say there is no strategy. If there is a strategy, then we will have a Nigerian state that will say our priority is to end this crisis in the next 1 year, in the next 2 years. But when we are ending the crisis in the next 1 year, in the next 2 years, then existing knowledge should tell us that building walls never end terrorism. Terrorism is not ended by building walls. Nowhere in the world where you have walls actually ending terrorism. Because terrorism is a problem of the mind. So you need to win hearts and minds of not just the community facing the problems, but also that of the soldiers facing the problems. There is a corporal now that has been declared on away without this thing, who is revealing all kinds of secrets about the ongoing operations in the Northeast. So the point we are trying to make, sir, is that a more committed state will not allow the kind of corruption that we see in this nation. The kind of corruption that has led to the collapse of the university system. Nigerian universities have collapsed. The health sector has collapsed. Our young people are trekking across the Sahara. They swim across the Mediterranean to be able to get to Southern Europe. I mean, I was with my wife in Italy, in one of the communities. We saw some of our people begging, and my wife decided to give a small amount of money to one of them, and and she said the money was too small. And then the question my wife was asking is that why will you travel this far to come and beg in Italy? So the question is, there is no strategy. It's like you have a family that is not led by anybody. Barrister, sir, you became a lawyer, not accidentally. You planned towards it. Now, can Nigeria plan towards winning this battle? We do not see the signs that, that people are really serious about winning the battles. I went to Abuja. I interviewed a number of people, And I realized that nobody is interested in this conversation that we are actually promoting this morning. What they are interested in is 2027. It tells you there is no strategy.
And Prof, before I go to Professor Ayede now, in the early stages, there are those who say that, we made some gains because from in that interview as well, where the Chief of Defense Staff was saying over 120,000 insurgents had surrendered. They've made successes in some places as well. But it looks like what we're experiencing is like a relapse. So why do you think they were not able to consolidate on the success they made in the early stages of the fight against insurgency, especially in the first 2 years of this government? Prof? Oh. Yes.
I thought you invited Professor Ayede.
No, I'm saying that I want you to answer the question, then I will go to him.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
You see, yesterday, the Nigerian Academy of Letters actually discussed this. And I was on that program with the former Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Abdurrahman Dambazao, and he answered this question. It's like when tension started coming down, we all relaxed to the extent that the multinational joint task force, whose headquarters is in N'Djamena, became a little bit not too strong. And Chad started having problems, and Chad threatened to pull out of the multinational joint task force. Now, that flank, the Chad, Cameroon, Upper Cameroon, no longer strong. Now, a consequential member of the multinational joint task force, Niger, exited ECOWAS, is having problems with Nigeria. So the northern part of Nigeria is porous now because Niger is no longer with us. Chad is discouraged. So the entire northern flank is literally opened. And now you have arms coming in from Libya. And as I said yesterday, the arms coming from Libya, coming into Nigeria from Libya, is no longer Gaddafi's weapons, because when I listen to people talking about it, they say Gaddafi's weapons. Gaddafi's weapons came into Nigeria like 2 years after Gaddafi was removed from leadership. But now, the borders, the ports of Libya is now very, very porous because of the conflict in that country. Libya now is under several warlords. But all these warlords are not able to keep the ports safe. So there is heavy shipment of arms into Libya. And the only country that can afford to buy these weapons very well, the troublemakers that can afford to buy these weapons are those coming in the direction of Nigeria. So more weapons are coming in, more foreign fighters from Central Sahel are coming in, and our leaders, to me, do not appear to be too committed to actually winning this war. It's like it's like we just feel that, we have won the battle in the Northeast. Now, what we should be facing now is the Northwest. So we are neither winning in the Northwest nor in the Northeast. And in fact, these people have penetrated the country so much that they have turned Plateau State, Benue State into a big hell. And we just pray that they don't move further downwards.
Right.
They are pressing towards into the southwest through Kwara. But I think they are getting a good fight.
All right, let me go to Professor Ayede now. Prof?
Yeah, let me welcome Professor Albert.
Thank you, Prof.
And thank you for the contributions you have made so far. Before you came, I asked Barrister Ejiofor about this current government's policy, or you use the word strategy, on security. And you have said that it is non-existent. Now, I also made reference to the fact that there is an uproar by the rank and file of the military about the corruption that is going on, and the suffering, the killing, the deaths of so many soldiers of those lower ranks. Now, do you still think that professionalism can be sustained under these circumstances in the military? Then secondly, how is it possible that a president or even a parliament, in the midst of the massive deaths that is going on, will not be sensitive and be determined to address security concerns? Someone would have expected them to have removed it from politics completely and make it a major issue for the government, because we know that the security and survival of the state is actually the prime and fundamental role of the state.
That's it.
Is Nigerian politicians so irresponsible? What then has happened to professionalism within the security forces? And how can we get to the bottom of these problems?
Well, thank you, Professor Ayede. One may not be too able to actually talk about the rot in the military now, but I think it's becoming an open secret that the system is no longer together, and there are several factors. Several factors responsible for this. Soldiers grumble, most especially the lower rank. They grumble. The senior officers also grumble, whereas the seniors will say we do not have enough resources. The juniors will say the resources we have are not being well managed. Now, one would have expected the National Assembly, most especially the Committee on Defense, the Army, Navy, and so on. You have several committees. One would have expected them to come in to actually do a scientific assessment of what is happening to the Nigerian military. But I don't think anybody is in charge. I think what everybody's looking for now is to increase their take-home. And I think that is part of the problem. But as you rightly said, the primary purpose of any government is to be able to secure lives and properties of citizens. And therefore, one would have expected this new regime to come out with a clearly articulated security strategy. This is what we want to do, and this is how we're going to do it. But this is difficult for us to see from outside, because sometimes when people ask me this type of question, the way I respond to it is to say, probably there are things that these people are doing that we do not know. But from outside, it's difficult for us to say, this is the strategy, this is what they want to do. And it is really... I have participated in a number of committees that ought to affect Nigeria on this matter. But the way each of the committees were treated, suggested to us that nobody is truly committed to really. Let me share one with us.
Yes.
Let me share one with us. I was on the presidential committee.
Prof, hold that thought, sir. Hold that thought, sir. We need to take this break. So when we get back, we'll hear from you regarding the thoughts you want to share. We'll take a quick break. When we get back, continue the conversation right here on the podium. Do stay with us.
You're listening to 32 FM 94.9.
Golden chance, Lotto money.
Hooray! Lotto lovers, Golden Chance Lotto don't carry boku gifts. Come to reward you as you dey play our games. E don't come with 2 cha-cha games for Sundays. Now every Sunday tonic, blessing and prosper. Play all our games, including the new cha-cha games. Scan our QR code sticker and get a reward instanta. No be only that oh, if you stake up to 50,000 on our new games, blessing and prosper within 3 months, you don't stand a chance to get boku gift for our raffle draw. Now, selling of better life go close by 1:45 p.m. Draw go come for 2 p.m. Blessing go close by 3:15 p.m. Draw for 3:30 p.m. Prosper go close by 5:15 p.m. and draw for 5:30 p.m. You fit play Golden Chance Lotto games for our shops, kiosks, or make you play online. Log on to www.goldenchancelotto.com. If you no get data, no wahala. Our USSD day for you. Dial *7005# on your MTN line. All our gaming platforms. Stay easy, play, win, and cash out anywhere. No story. Terms and conditions apply. Golden Chance Lotto.
32 FM News. First, we're telling real stories.
We air stories from the perspectives of the people. Stories that our people can relate with.
In news delivery, we are fast, objective, and accurate.
We're all about changing the narratives by telling underreported stories and bringing those behind the news to your doorsteps.
At 12 noon and 4 p.m., we will continue to bring you comprehensive and factual news at home and across our various social platforms.
The stories you need to keep up with, from community news to sports, business, politics, and a lot more.
32 FM News, first with telling real stories.
kò bá jẹ́ 24 29 tàbí 32 ṣáà ti fẹ̀yìn ẹ̀ pẹ̀lú wa lórí gbogbo ìkànnì ìbánidọ́rẹ̀ẹ́ kàn tẹ 32 FM 949 fẹ̀yìn ẹ̀.
Mr. Teacher, please, what happens when children come to school? How is it that they leave home very neat and return looking so different?
Non-stop action, ma. All the learning and sports burn energy. So those sweat stains, dirty uniforms and shoes, they show that your kid has been very active.
Now, wow.
Your kids need nourishing energy. Give them Milo at breakfast. It has nutrients that support energy release to help them get the most out of their day. Milo, energy to go further.
Milo. Òtítọ́ ni pé ìpọ́njú ń bẹ nínú ayé tí ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ onígbàgbọ́ sì ń káàárẹ̀ ṣùgbọ́n Jésù ti wí fún àwọn ọmọ ẹ̀yìn kí ẹ̀yin kó lè ní àlàáfíà nínú mi inú ayé ẹ̀yin yóò ní ìpọ́njú ṣùgbọ́n ẹ tújú ká mo ti ṣẹ́gun ayé nǹkan wọ̀nyí ni Jésù ti sọ fún wa tẹ́lẹ̀ èyí gan ló mú ìjọ More Than Conquerors Revolutionary Church tó wà ní Sanyo Ìbàdàn wá sórí afẹ́fẹ́ lábẹ́ iṣẹ́ ìránṣẹ́ Pastor Adénẹ́yẹ Martins nínú gbogbo nǹkan wọ̀nyí àwa ju ẹni tí ó ṣẹ́gun lọ nípasẹ̀ Kristiani tí ó fẹ́ wa ìwé Róòmù orí 9 ẹsẹ̀ 17 agogo 9:15 àṣálẹ́ ọjọ́ Sátidé ni kẹ́ jẹ́ ká fi ìpàdé sí lórí ìkànnì tá a wà yìí 32 FM 94.9 ọ̀rọ̀ Ọlọ́run yóò sì yé wa yéké tí gbogbo onígbàgbọ́ yóò sì fọkàn balẹ̀. àṣejù ní ká gbé sí rédíò mi 32 FM ti wà òkè.
Feel better about your life.
32 FM 94.9, the antidote to depression.
Welcome back. It's the Podium on 32 FM 94.9. We're discussing the current security challenges in the country. Our guest is Professor Isaac Olaore-Albert. He is a professor of African History, Peace and Conflict Studies, and the pioneer director of the Institute for Peace and Strategic Studies at the University of Ibadan. So, Prof, welcome back. Before we went on that break, you were about to share something with us. Yeah, Prof, welcome back, sir. I said before we went to that break, you were about sharing something with us.
Yes, I was a member of the Presidential Committee on the Review of Nigeria Defense Policy in 2014-2015. I'm using that distant example to just tell you how things are done in this country. Soldiers were running away from the battlefront, the soldiers fighting Boko Haram, and President Goodluck Jonathan was embarrassed, so he had to set up the Presidential Committee to review the defense policy of the country. And the defense policy of a country is the brain box. It informs all other things. It defines the role of the army, the navy, the police, and whatever. It includes issues of your strategic security threat analysis and so on. So we met, and part of the resources that were made available that were to be provided for our work was to make us travel around the world, because you cannot design a country's defense policy without actually looking at the threats, both from within and outside. Now, the money just vanished. We couldn't finish the work, and they just said, okay, this is enough, and that was how the new defense policy of the country was designed. We just sat down there at the Air Force Center in Abuja, and we wrote a report, and that is the document they are carrying around now. I understood that they took the document around a number of places, but the document we call the Nigeria's defense policy could not even be done properly. The money was stolen. So now this is what is happening to many other sectors. I belong to several other groups that, but the more of these groups you belong to, the more you see that it's like you are taking this matter too seriously. Those giving you the assignment are not as serious as those of you thinking that it's your knowledge that will remove the problems of the country. So basically, we do not see security management as something that as important as we're discussing here. And it is clearly established, whether at the level of the United Nations, African Union, and all other global platforms, that without security, you cannot develop your society. I mean, we can't travel, you can't travel freely. The money that you spent on education, health, is being wasted in the Northeast. Our young ones are being killed on a daily basis. Our institutions are being destroyed. So until we come to a stage where we say Nigeria cannot be without security, then probably we begin to develop strategy. But for now, it's impossible for us to say we have a strategy when we are yet to come to the realization of security being the requirement for sustainable development of Nigeria.
Yeah, in your analysis earlier on, you talked about some of the resources that these criminal groups also access in the various communities where they operate. People have drawn a connection between banditry and illegal mining as well. This has led some people to make proposal like amendment of the constitution to give state governors more powers over their resources. Perhaps that would curb illegal mining, which has been seen as one of the sources of fund for this criminal group. So what's your position on some of these amendments, like state police moving some of these critical sectors from the exclusive list to the concurrent list, giving state more powers over their resources? Perhaps that would help them, that would domesticate the solution to these problems in their respective domain.
Well, I agree with you. You see, one of the reasons why we have so many problems is that we are practicing a very foreign kind of federalism. If the federating units are allowed to manage the resources and problems in their jurisdictions, I think we won't be having as many problems as we're having. Let's go back to security. When we wanted in the Southwest to start Amatekun, they said, oh, no, you cannot do it. It's against the Constitution of Nigeria. You cannot, whatever. But Governor Akeredolu, being a lawyer, worked around it constitutionally, and then we succeeded in having Amatekun. Today, the Southwest is the most peaceful part of this country, and Amatekun contributed greatly to it. There is no hiding places for criminals in the Southwest. Though we are not saying actually that we don't have problems. We have people being kidnapped. We have people coming out from the bush to come and kidnap people. We still have some of the problems. But the Southwest today is the most peaceful. Nigeria will become more peaceful if each region of the country is allowed to manage its problems. Because what is happening now is people generate problems from different places and then ask Nigeria the entire country to pay for it. It is called security racket. That is the concept for it. When you create a problem and then you ask other people to pay for it, it's called security racket. Security racketeering will stop when the different parts of Nigeria is given the right to manage its problems. And I am suspecting that probably President Tinubu is working in that direction. Because when it started this idea of saying no, the South should not be the only part of Nigeria that is having this development
commission.
Forgotten the name.
Development commission, yes.
I asked myself, what is the man driving at? Now, the man has given every region a development commission. And I think when this development commission starts to work, a few of them will invest heavily on security. Some of them will use their own money to eat pancake. And it is then you begin to see parts of Nigeria generating problems being left to their problems. For example, I see the Southwest investing heavily on security because we need to keep our environment safe for investment. We need to keep it safe for development of socio-economic and other environmental infrastructure. So, to me, I am suspecting that the president is actually trying to say, look, we will give you your resources, go and use it to do whatever you want to do. And I see serious regions in the country actually spending their money more on security. They will keep their environment safe and their development will start from there.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of state police, you mentioned Amotekun earlier, and it's been about 6 years now since the Western Nigeria Security Network was formed by states in the Southwest region. Do you think 6 years, over time, what's your assessment of it? Has it given us that template to say, yes, we can actually explore the option of regional police? Yes.
Amotekun would have produced better results. But for the fact that the federal government still prevents it from carrying the right kind of weapons, as long as Amotekun is not able to match the capacity for evil of these people disturbing us, then Amotekun may not be able to operate at the optimum level. But for now, tension has drastically reduced in the Southwest because the criminals know that when they come, some people will come out to face them. And, Amotekun works with hunters. They work with different groups across the communities. But the number is still very small. With more resources, probably from the development commissions, I think they will recruit more operatives. They will acquire more arms. And I think at a stage, the federal government may have to give them the permission to acquire some arms. And we do pray that as part of the reforms that this government is promoting, state policing might actually be licensed so that different states of the Federation would, manage their security problems. But it's like the forces against state policing in this country is formidable. The president mentioned it that, look, we are going this route. But he will say it today, but tomorrow you hear we are not ready for it. So I think the person we need now is a committed person.
Yes.
And I think what the problem the president is solving is that I think he's placing 2027 above the problems of this country that he should be solving. Because severally he came up with statements showing that he knows what the people want and he's willing to provide what the people want. But as soon as he makes the pronouncement, I think some people go to him to say, no, you can't do this. And then the president will withdraw. And this is because they tell him, if you do it, we are not going to vote for you in 2027. Only God owns 2027. And if by 2027, the problems of Nigeria increases, then you might not even be able to make any headway. So what I expect now is for a smart government to save Nigeria first. Do not let Nigeria to collapse. And that is when you begin to talk about 2027.
Yes.
And the achievement of our leaders will be counted not probably in the number of years they spend in office, but how many of Nigeria's problems they're able to solve. For now, Nigeria is overwhelmed with problems.
Right. Prof, I mean, you've talked about some forces against state police. Do you think there is some kind of substance in the argument? Because I've heard different arguments as well. There are those who say,
no substance.
There are those who say governors can.
Substance.
Yes.
They have no substance because the only thing they keep mentioning is that some governors will use it against their opponents.
Yes.
I mean, are these opponents we are talking about, are they as formidable as these bandits that are killing people all over the place? Are they as, so it's like we are saying when I'm campaigning, they will come and stop my campaign. Is this a more serious problem that these bandits who come to kill people in their sleep? So it's like that is why I said we have politicized everything. What we just want to do is safety of our political gerrymandering. And that is why at the House of Representatives recently, they came up with a law to say you must vote for us. If you don't vote for us, you go to jail for 6 months. And what one would have thought is that a smarter politicians who really know what they are doing, will investigate why people are not coming out to vote. You are not dealing with that. You are saying Professor Albert must come out to vote for you. I will not come out to vote. I will not come out to vote because one, my vote will not count. Then secondly, when we vote you into office, you will not do what we want. So it's an attempt to put official stamp on authoritarianism. You want to eat your cake and have it.
Right. So let's go to Barrister now. Barrister? Are you with us, Barrister?
Oh, yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Now, my noble professor,
yes,
I
sir.
now have two noble professors on the program today. Yes. Now, reflecting on the scary insights you have provided, particularly the alleged goal of insurgents to subjugate the coastal states for the advancement of their cause. There have been disturbing calls from concerned citizens in the south of Nigeria of what is perceived to be a deliberate attempt to militarize and overrun southern Nigeria, given the influx of questionable people from the north and the Sahel without the required profiling to ascertain their true status. Today, Yoruba land, for instance, appears to be under siege. Almost all Yoruba towns have these strange faces, people, as you may call it. Is this a false alarm or one for which a thorough investigation is required? Secondly, should the constitutional provision relating to free movement of people in Nigeria be a defense to what is perceived as a threat to national interest and security?
Thank you, Barrister. The problem you have mentioned is real. It's real. And I think when the government of Lagos State banned movement of Okada in Lagos, and many of these Okada riders migrated into Oyo State. Oyo State government cannot claim to be ignorant of what you are doing, but I will say I'm ignorant of what the government is doing. But I know that the government is conscious of this problem, and we have a number of reports about Boko Haram fighters that were arrested in Lagos and Ogun State. This may not be something that we'll be discussing in the open. But what you are saying is a reality. But the Constitution of Nigeria protects free movement of goods and persons across the country. I agree with you that we are abusing it, but it is not a problem that can be easily solved. Recently, some traditional rulers in Benue State said we are giving the Fulani people 24 hours to leave Benue State. It's not possible for you to ask anybody to leave, because the Constitution of Nigeria protects them, and I knew that pronouncement would rather lead to escalation of the problems in Benue State rather than solving any problem. Recently, a northern Nigerian leader suggested that ECOWAS should ban movements of people into Nigeria. I mean, that is in realization of the fact that more foreign fighters are coming into Nigeria from the Sahel. But when he said it, I mean, a few of us said, look, it's not possible. ECOWAS cannot suspend its protocol on free movement of persons because your country is troubled. But what you need to give more attention to is the fact that Nigeria is not the only member of ECOWAS. We had 15 member states. 3 of them have exited. We are left with 12. Why are these other states not having our kinds of problems? We are having so many problems because we have opened our borders to people, allowing them to come in because of religion, allowing them to come in because of ethnicity. And today, many of these troublemakers see Nigeria as their headquarters. So what we need to do is to begin to copy what the other ECOWAS member states are doing for keeping themselves straight. They are not allowing outsiders to come and create problems for them. We are allowing outsiders to come in to create problems for us, and then we must keep running from pillar to post as we are doing now, just because we refused to do what is expected of us. We politicize security, and now our hands are full.
Yeah, I mean, Prof, you talked about the fact that some countries those 3 countries have pulled out of ECOWAS, and there are a lot of people who have said, look, what exactly is Nigeria gaining from ECOWAS? In fact, it was a conversation that came up when ECOWAS celebrated, I think, its 50th or 60th anniversary thereabout. Nigeria being one of the biggest members, and the withdrawal of Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali has also affected our fight against insurgency, especially within the Sahel region, and how some of these people come in. So I want you to speak to whether Nigeria is gaining anything from its membership of ECOWAS. Number 2 is those who say the lines are blurred, the border lines are blurred. We have some highly placed individuals in the northern part of the country that have wives across the Nigerian border. They are cousins. Maybe this is just one of the colonial legacies that we have to deal with, because the border lines are blurred. It's very, very hard to draw. Even though Niger is a French-speaking country, Nigeria is an English-speaking country, these people have an intercultural relation that go way back to centuries. So it's very hard to demarcate those lines. So those 2 issues, Prof.
Well, you see, on the surface, it looks like Nigeria is not gaining from ECOWAS. But I would say that Nigeria gains most from ECOWAS. We have the biggest market across the West African corridor. The only problem we are having is like, as I was told in Benin Republic not too long ago, well, one would not be mentioning what these people said. They said we are just big for nothing. We are big. We can actually exploit the West African market using the 1975 ECOWAS Treaty to become one of the biggest countries in the world. But I don't think we have the knowledge or capacity or will to actually exploit West Africa using ECOWAS as it should be. Now, Nigeria also can use these other member states for ensuring our national security. For example, when Buhari was in government and he bought some vehicles for the military in Niger, people started abusing Buhari. He's spending our money on Niger and so on. But strategically, Niger protects Nigeria. We use Niger as a buffer zone. It's like when troubles are coming, the building behind your house takes the bullets before the bullets come to you. And so, what Buhari was trying to do, I don't know how far the other regimes did it, is to strengthen Niger to be able to take our bullets. The relationship between Nigeria and Chad, where we have our multinational joint task force, is also to be able to block troublemakers from Sudan, from Mali. So Nigeria is actually using these other countries, but we are not using them very well. And Nigeria is very rich. So what terrorists are doing now is to be taking advantage of our richness, our size, our ethnic and religious divisions to expand our problems, rather than actually we managing them creatively. So Nigeria has a lot to benefit from ECOWAS.
Right.
But I will say that the present regime does not seem to understand what to do. The regime does not understand what to do. Because you see, the longer you wait in addressing the sensitive problems we have in the region now, the longer you wait, the more problems you have. You have what is called issue proliferation. The issues around the Sahel affecting us will increase. You will have actor proliferation. So you have people coming even from the Middle East now to come and fight in Nigeria. And then you have management complication. The management complication is what we see in terms of confusion, our inability to even know what to do. Today, we say what we should do is to use fencing. Tomorrow, we say what we should do is to use Panadol. And the next day, we say what we should do is to... So we are not... When you put our interventions together, you place them side by side with our problems, you will see that there is no coordination.
Right. Yeah. What about the second one about the lines being blurred, between Nigeria and Niger? These are, two countries that were given names even without their knowledge. Yes.
It is not only Nigeria that we have such problem. I mean, I was doing a project with ECOWAS on this, and in the process of actually looking at the borders, at our northern borders, I saw what I was taught in secondary school. There is this belief among the border communities that there's something called Kanon Borno Empire.
Yes.
They still believe that there is a Kanon Borno Empire. They still believe that there is a Mali empire. Now, the relationship between people across the borders, has some elements of, because when you ask them, why are you supporting this? They say, our people. But it is not only in our northern corridors that we have this problem. Go to Benin Republic. When Igboho had problems, Yoruba traditional rulers in Benin Republic rallied around him. If you chase any Yoruba man across the border to Benin Republic will fight back. And I also learned that some parts of Cameroon, most especially the northern parts, the Adamawa parts, they see themselves as part of the same people in Yola, in Adamawa State. So our border communities have strong affinity with us. And therefore, these people see themselves as having dual nationalities. So, and that affects military operations. It affects security management. Now, to me, I think Nigeria should handle Niger carefully. We need Niger more than Niger needs us. By fraternizing with Niger, many of the foreign fighters that will come to fight in Nigeria can be stopped by Niger. The arms coming into Nigeria can be stopped by, and I think that is why I recommended just a few days ago that whereas multilateralism is endangered in West Africa, all West African states cannot relate smoothly now. There is nothing stopping Nigeria from starting a strong bilateral relationship with Niger. Ghana, under Mahama, is already doing it with with Burkina Faso. Ambassador Larry has been appointed ambassador at large. He is the ambassador now that is relating with the Sahelian states, and they are actually giving their words to Ghana now to say we will help you to secure our borders with you. Yeah. That is what Nigeria needs now, rather than waiting for ECOWAS, or waiting for any big power that might not help you at the end of the day.
Right. Thank you, Prof. I mean, we're wrapping up now. Let me just go to Prof quickly. Prof, that's Professor Ayede now. Your final question and comment as we wrap up now.
Yeah, let me take Professor Abad back to the regional commission, because I'm a little bit taken aback about the role he's expecting them to play in security. Because the focus of the commissions are very clear. And I think that it is part of the preparation for 2027.
Thank you.
Because it talks about solving disparities among the states within the region. And it also talks about planning and development in the process of implementing the renewed hope agenda. These are the very nebulous functions that have been given to those commissions. They are not commissions that will relate with a regional organization that is coming from the governors, like Amotepe. So I think that there's no justification for looking forward to their playing effective role in security. Rather, we should take them for what they are as another tool for 2027.
I agree with you, Prof, that the main agenda might be 2027. But when the leadership of that group is being constituted, you might have committed people like you in the group that will say that, look, even if our main agenda is 2027, the resources provided to us can also be used to secure our environment. And I'm telling you, write it down. That is what is going to happen. That the development commissions will invest heavily on security for the Southwest. I want us to write it down. Anum, I want to bring us back to this when the group start working. Because you see, without securing the Southwest, securing the Southwest, making it safe, you might not even be able to achieve this 2027 agenda we are talking about. So I know Yoruba people, I know what they will do, and I know what the South people did with NDDC.
Yes.
Yes, they spent heavily on security. The only problem is that they will not come out to tell you that this is what they are doing. If tension is reducing in that part of Nigeria, it's because they are spending heavily on it. And I know that Yoruba people will spend heavily on security. And let us not also be carried away that President Ahmed Tinubu is equal to Southwest and Yoruba people. You know, yes, you bring in bureaucrats, people to work in that thing, but I'm telling you that Yoruba people will prioritize security management. And I see the likes of Amatekun, or if we have state police at the end of the day, actually becoming so strong that they will secure the Southwest from all these marauders that are trying to come to the coast of Lagos.
Right. Thank you so much, Prof. It's been a very interesting conversation with you, informative as well regarding the security challenges facing the country. It's been a very wonderful conversation with you. So let's wrap up with Prof. Barrister, your final comment as we let Prof go.
Yes. Prof,
yes,
we
sir.
can't let you go yet, though.
I'm here for you.
We have a tradition. We like to make you laugh before you go.
Oh,
as
thank
a
you so
therapy
much.
for the times.
It's
So
good
let
for
me
the
see if
body.
I can achieve that this morning. Prof, the weather is very, very cold.
Yes.
Toby is a young man. We know how these young ones tackle cold weather. I envy them. We are older. So, Prof, do you have a recipe you can loan me to tackle this biting cold? I know Professor Ayede gets his own agenda.
Go and prepare ogi.
Yes.
Make it very, very hot.
And
with akara. You will survive it.
Yes.
You see, I'm recommending Nogi.
Yes.
Because if you go for tea now, it is meant for those people who are in Abuja. There was a time in Ilesha where I come from. They say, let's one forget. They say,
wow, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Prof, for joining us on the podium today. Of course, Professor 𝐒𝐿 Albert is a professor of African History, Peace and Conflict Studies, University of Ibadan. Thank you, Professor Emeryede, as well. Thank you, Barrister Ogunla, for being a part of the show. Special thanks to my producer, 𝐵𝐿. My name is OLORUNTOBA YUSUF. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday morning. The podium returns next Saturday. Bye.